See, this is the whole key. It has to be a whole cultural thing that has to get cleaned up. And most of all, where the adult activities come in is our willingness to exemplify what we truly believe. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I've had, you know, I had husbands come in that have basically worked on these jobs that they've hated for 35, 40 years. And their thing is that, you know, well, what do you want? This is the response to the kids. Well, what do you want? You had food to eat, a place to stay, and clothes to wear. You know, and they're just so pissed off and angry because they felt that for them to actually hold up their own perception of their own dignity, that they were lassoed and locked into having to perform this act. It's like, don't even ask me about going nowhere with you as the wife. I ain't interested in hugging you or nothing else, because I'm just pissed off because I had to work here for 30-some years. So their attitude is, it's like, did you have to work? I mean, I've seen this go on in my office, this dialogue. I'm just sitting here watching this. It's like, did you have to work? You don't have to worry about nothing. You got my retirement check. So, like, shut up. No, I don't want to go to church with you or whatever. So she's pissed off. She's pissed off because her thing is that you just left me here with the children. So I had to deal with their issues for 30-some years. And, you know, I couldn't confer with you about nothing because you didn't want to hear it, because all you want to do was go to bed so you can get up and go to the job. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, woo, like this is like really interesting. You know, so it's like, now, how do we heal the family? Because the family is ill. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we have one, we have one symptom here. We've got one symptom here that is exhibited physically by this man, okay, but everybody else is ill, you know, and I mean, it's just been incredible because, you know, the son has come in with this one family I'm talking about, and his thing is that he just had to sit down now, he's in his 30s, and tell his father that the only thing that he can remember about him and his childhood was having to basically go make sure that he and his mother could get their check on Friday. Because this man worked every day, but he drank. So the big thing for him was to make sure that on Fridays that he accompanied his mother to make sure that they got the check before the daddy cashed it and drank it up. Now this is a man 30 years old telling his dad, now this is my relationship with you. This is how I see it. You understand? So now, is this man who's 30 years old going to be able to have a healthy relationship with his kids? Well, the answer is yes, if he can get some support and help. Right, and get some other things happening. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? And it was interesting because he was loving enough to recognize that his delivery of this was not in anger, but he did want his dad to be real clear about the fact that the idea that he felt loved because he had a place to stay and food to eat and clothes to wear was not important to him, because as far as he's concerned, that had nothing to do with love. Okay, but see, you have to understand, and this is a whole thing that I deal with when we start dealing with sexuality, is that there's something known as love strategies. And you cannot come and shove me something in my face that somebody else told you was important for them to feel loved and think that I'm supposed to basically be happy and glad about it. Because I have my own references that I've come with from my own imprinting, from my own family, to determine for me what my love strategy is. And I've just seen this whole thing break down in just even couples. His thing is that I gave her a fur coat and a this and a that and a whole bunch of other stuff, and she's still up here asking me, do I love her? Well, of course I do. Why does she think I give her that? And her thing is like, what is he, a fool? I can get my own coat and whatever else is selling. I want to know, why is it that we can't have a decent conversation? And I want to know why we just can't be off holding hands or something, why we just can't go for a walk. That's what she wants to know, because her love strategy is that if you just will stop your stuff and just spend some time with me, then I'm loved. All this other stuff is really not important. So he's trying to push off a value system. Okay, all right. They just want to change the tape. But, you know, but I'm saying he's trying to push off a value system that perhaps that was his mama's or aunt's or somebody, or some other girlfriend he might have had. But so I'm just saying this whole communication issue, we do not come to each other and just basically ask what you need. And most of all, be willing to let people realize if we give it to them and they really then figure out, oh, I thought that's what I needed and I didn't, that that's okay. Because then we have situations where I've been in counseling where the person said, well, hell, this is what she asked for, I gave it to her, and that So that's why being able to be flexible and mobile, etc., allows you to know that, okay, well, we got to turn right now, so I mean, let's just go ahead and turn right and see what that gets us. But you've got to be able to stay flexible on the physical level, because that's a representation that you're flexible mentally so that you can go ahead and change. And when you understand that you have a whole infinite
geneticist, there is nothing you can do to change genetics. That doesn't make sense to me. It's my belief that by doing what you're saying to do over generations that you would change that, and you alluded to that earlier, I believe. Is it your opinion that over so many generations, and how many would it take to say, it takes 7 to get rid of predisposition to cancer and all that?
Right. Well, see, first of all, you have to understand that, unfortunately, too many people lie. I mean, it's just an outright lie that nothing changes. And any geneticist that will say that is lying to you. Now, what they can tell you is that in their repertoire information, they don't know that it changes, which is totally different than sitting up telling you that nothing changes. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying that we know that that is not true. Everything has a turnover time, a half-life. Everything changes. So as I said, my data says that to inbreed in a permanent attribute or to inbreed out a previously permanent attribute that you don't want takes 7 generations. Now, when you then look at what is that timing is relative to the organism that we're talking about. Okay, generational time for Africans is 15 years, because we are adults at age 15. So that is considered really 1 generation for us. Because if we are raised properly, we have the capacity to reproduce ourselves and move on with our next family. And in Africa, we do live that way. That's when I began to realize that all this stuff I was taught, a whole bunch of it was really jumbled up. Because it blew my mind the first time I met a 14-year-old businesswoman, mother, okay, and wife. And my thing is like, well, wow, this is deep, because she truly is not a child, so we can forget that. Okay, and obviously she is actually able to throw down and do things that I've seen folks 60 can't capable of doing yet. So I mean, I was just really in cultural shock the first time I went to Africa, and I was meeting these people that were doing all these things. So it's interesting too, because, you know, and I really appreciate my experiences, because the universe really set me up to really see a whole panorama, because I was the only African that went with a group of 9 other doctors that were white. And it was like really interesting checking out their response to this. Because the white girls was actually talking about, oh my God, how terrible that is. This poor young girl that sat on with a husband like this and a business and these kids, and she hasn't had a chance to live or go to college or anything. You know, so I'm like looking at that over there, listening to this, you know, and then I'm looking at this sister over here that is running a business. You understand what I'm saying? I hadn't figured out how to do that yet. At that time, I hadn't had my business. I was still being employed. Do you understand what I'm saying? That she's dealing with her husband. I'm already looking at 2 failed marriages for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? And she's also dealing with her kids. And she's like 14 years old. You know, and the driver of my truck was 18 years old. He had 3 wives. You know, and I was like, wow, and I think this is really interesting. You know, because my thing is that most 18-year-olds I know are totally dysfunctional. 14 years old and haven't even figured out they own the planet. So I'm like, well, how does a 14-year-old have this kind of responsibility, and how do we have a man who's 18 years old who realizes, and he told me all about his kids, how proud he was of his kids and his wives and everything, and he was driving and hustling and doing everything he could because he had to meet these responsibilities that he took upon himself to have. So I'm like, wow, I mean, this is like, I was just blown away. I just had to really just remove myself for a whole day and just actually process all the stuff that was being downloaded, because it was totally alien to my whole reference of people living, existing, being able to function, etc. So I mean, that just totally opened me up to the fact that I had to look at from where I'm coming and look at what we're doing with our own capacity, because these people have far less to work with, but we're moving with it. So I'm saying that, you know, as I begin to read the information, I mean, you know, at the University of Michigan, MIT, etc., yes, the African male and female is completely mature by age 14 to 15 years old. And they've documented that. So then that answered questions for me about why we have such high rates of what they call teenage pregnancies, which is not teenagers, adult pregnancies for us. Okay, and also a lot of crime in our, what they call teenagers, because we haven't given them information to deal with an adult body.